the organizing. I mean, even many of you who have gone into your own pocket have produced your own material, have strongly discounted some of our material, right? Just so that we could make sure that we could get our name and the fact that we're in this race as far and wide as we possibly can. You all know better than me, this is a state of 20+ million people. It is not a state that I can myself, even in my best days, get around and completely cover what we've got to cover by myself. I cannot run and I cannot win this race alone. The good news is that I know that much. The better news is that I got some of you all who are on the front lines trying to help us bring home this win. I've been running in this race as an unapologetic progressive. I don't make excuses for what I believe in. I try not to compromise on those things that are so core, in large part, y'all, because I think we've done too much of that. The Democratic nominee has lost the race for governor for the last 5 consecutive races. Last 5 consecutive races. And it's not because we're a minority in the state of Florida. We're not a minority in the state of Florida. In fact, I believe there are probably more people out there who agree like we do in this room than there are those who don't. They just need to know that we believe it. And that when they go out and they cast their vote, that they're going to be casting their vote for someone who, once they are in leadership and in control and in power, are going to do everything that we can to try to make life better for the everyday folks of this state, right? Y'all probably know this, but it bears repeating. Roughly 46% of the people in this state say that they cannot make ends meet at the end of the month. Now, I know there are those of us who are a bit removed from that lived experience and reality, but for half the people of this state to be working folks and still say that they cannot make enough to take care of themselves and their family, that's a problem. Y'all know down here in South Florida, we're dealing with an affordable housing crisis. And not for just low-income folks. We're talking about working people who are increasingly being pushed to the borders, beyond the borders, and further beyond that, where their commutes to work to and from are becoming 2 and so hours. The quality of life, the quality of their ability to spend time with family, the quality of their ability to save some money and take a weekend vacation at least once a year. Much of that being compromised because there are very few people who are in leadership that are worried and concerned about how it is that we make a better way for them. I remember what it was like growing up, watch my mother and my father trade between which bills they could pay before something got cut off. I remember having to run errands for my mother up to the local grocery store, and she would have me use this money that would be red and off-color blue and sometimes green. Now, some of y'all probably don't know what that is, but back in the day, those were food stamps. Today, they use the swipe card, right? My mother and father did everything that they could to make a way for me. They allowed me and supported me to get the kind of good quality public education experience that created the pathway for me to be the first of my siblings to graduate from high school and the first of my siblings to graduate from college. And to have my little brother and my little sister come behind me to do the same thing. I know my parents couldn't do it, but the truth is that our family is a lived, breathing experiment of what it means to see intergenerational poverty interrupted at the hands of a good public education. And that's why I believe that we've got to do everything that we can to strengthen that foundation. Want to talk a moment about the state of this race, if you don't mind. And then I'll stop talking and open up for questions. As some of y'all know, I'm in a 4-way primary. It is myself, former mayor of Miami Beach, Philip Levine, former Congresswoman Gwen Graham, and a gentleman named Chris King out of Central Florida. We haven't raised the most money of everybody, but we're proud of the road that we're traveling because I believe that my lived experience in this state is more like the everyday voters that we need in order to win this race than anybody else running. And what we've been experiencing as we've moved across the state is that as we get into rooms and get into community with these folks, they get excited, they want to sign up, they start getting out there and working in this race. And we know that we don't have to have everybody. I'd love to get everybody. But in a 4-way race, theoretically, you could have a nominee who emerges with 25% of the vote plus one. We don't have runoffs in the state of Florida anymore, right? And that means that all of us, to the extent that you're willing to see this state flip, you want to see some change happen, we've got to get out there and work tirelessly over the next 3 months. We're in the 92, 94-day stretch. I was talking to my wife the other night before we were heading off to bed, and I was saying, she was saying rather, that this year plus of our energy is about to be devolved down into just a few days. And we're thinking back on what it has meant to, as a family of 5 with young kids and a wife who works full-time to help take care of our family, and me balancing between being mayor and also running for the highest office in this state. It's been a lot, but I have to tell you, both she and I agree that it's worth it. It's worth it when we think about our 3 children and what kind of state we want them to inherit. It's worth it when I think about the kind of state that we have the opportunity to build for so many people. It's worth it when we consider the people who are so often forgotten in this state. The million folks who right now don't have access to health care because our governor failed to expand Medicaid. The teachers who are being told that they're evil. The kids who are being told that they attend failure factories. The folks who are working, and in many cases working harder than ever, and still can't earn enough to take care of themselves and their families. The 1.7 million former felons who still don't have their rights restored after they paid back their debt to society. So when I think about it, and I think what's on the line, it's absolutely worth it. It's even more worth it when I realize that winning this thing is not impossible. In fact, it is very possible, right? What we've got to do is get our share of the vote, right? Of that electorate that we think is going to show out. We suspect that there may be 1 million to 1.3 million people who will participate in this midterm election, in the primary. Of that group, about 32% of them will be black voters, 48% of them will be white voters, and about 14% will be Hispanic voters. Now, I don't mind competing across any part of this state. I've been to the villages, I've been to Bay County, I've been to everything in between, Duval County and Escambia County. I've been to places where we've been invited, and I've been in places where we have invited ourselves. Right? Because when you're running for governor, you've got to be the governor for all of the state of Florida. But I'm going to those places that were not necessarily expected, because it's been a long time since they've heard a Democrat come to them and talk to them about what our shared set of values are. If you are a rural, white, urban, white, rural voter, and your kids are opioid addicted, or they're being pushed out of the public education system because of these high-stakes tests which don't tell us what our kids know but how well they take a test, or if you're struggling to make ends meet, you're as frustrated as the urban voter. But they need to know that we're for them. And they need to know that we have a plan to address their needs as well, right? Now, this belief that we've got to go and change our strategy and run like Republicans, I reject that. I reject it largely because one, is not what I believe, but secondly, it hadn't proven to be victorious for us either. Right? When Republicans have a choice between a real thing and the fake thing, they keep going with the real one. Right? And our voters keep staying home. And so we've got to give our voters a reason to turn out. We got to give them a reason to vote for something and not just against something. Now, like many of y'all, I believe that Donald Trump is uniquely unqualified for his job, right? He proved it again today, on Memorial Day, the day where we honor those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. What's the first tweet out of the president, right? And the second tweet after that, and the third tweet after that is about him. Those, it baffled me. The men and women who have passed on will be very proud of their country today. I've created an economy that does this and that, and it was unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And while I'm on that topic, I want to give thanks to those of you all who are active duty or retired armed services, military, for your sacrifice that you've made on behalf of all of us. But y'all, I I believe that Florida has the opportunity to teach the rest of this country what it's like for us to be in this thing together. I think we've got an opportunity to remind the rest of this country of what our shared values are, right? What our soldiers really sacrificed for. And it wasn't for what the president said, which is to kick those out of the country who protest inequality and discrimination. They don't deserve to be here. I believe that our men and women are fighting for that very right for those individuals to protest. That's part of the foundation of this country, right? But if we've got to be the ones to remind the rest of this country of who we are and what we stand for, then fine. Let it start right here in the state of Florida. Let it begin on August 28th when you nominate me as the Democratic nominee for governor of the state of Florida. And then we're going to really bring it home on November 6th when we flip Florida blue. And that's just going to be the beginning of us flipping this country blue in November of 2020. Is that right? So I want to stop talking because I want to give us the opportunity to engage, ask questions, because if you're not a supporter, I want you to be able to emerge today as a supporter.